All right. Hey, everyone. How's it going? Meaningful Ideas Trading Club. We are live on Facebook. We are live in the Zoom room. Courtney Gatlin's going to come in and tell us how he's reached 1 million views on his YouTube page, over 16,000 subscribers. Can you just tell us, I guess, just a little bit about who Gary Vee is to those that may not be familiar with him?
Oh, Gary Vee, I guess, would you call him a social media influencer? I guess he's a social media influencer, but he's like kind of someone who predicted just how big you can be on social media if you put yourself out there. When I got hooked on Gary Vee back when I first started listening to YouTube and watching YouTube videos, I was listening to a lot of Gary Vee, and he would do these morning shows where he would have people call into his show and just give them free advice. I mean, 19-year-old kids to 50-year-old businessmen. And one of the things that he would say was, we're so scared to put ourselves out there because we had all these insecurities planted in us from our childhood. We run with these complexes and we feel like, oh no, we can never be on camera because we don't want to expose that. And this is one guy that came on there, he had a real bad lisp and he was a realtor. And he's like, that's what makes you great. Like, you can be the guy with the lisp. Everyone's going to remember you because of that lisp. Like, embrace it. This is just who you are. But because he had all these different limiting beliefs and these insecurities planted in him so early, it made it hard for him to move forward. And this is where he started to predict, Gary Vee started to predict TikTok was going to be so big. If you go on TikTok, there are people with every different type of, flaw or whatever you want to call it about themselves, amputees, all these different type of people that are just putting themselves out there and thoroughly embracing that and being that go-to person for like support, and people look at you and they admire that you're able to be that vulnerable, because one of the key things he said to your success is being vulnerable. That's kind of how I started with my YouTube channel, which is I was talking about what I was going through, my divorce, my failed relationships. I was being vulnerable. It was a lot of men that it was resonating with, and not only men, women too. That's when I knew that Gary was onto something, because what he did was he just gave free value. Someone else, it costs $10,000 to book a call with him. And he said that he didn't even like having more than 15-minute conversations because he had so much like ADHD or something, or ADD. He doesn't reply to emails because he said, I just can't do it. I just can't read stuff in that long. So he kind of put himself out there. I'm like, well, if it costs about $10,000 for a 15-minute session, that's definitely giving away free sessions like that is highly valuable to people.
Yeah. So as you were talking, Courtney, I thought it would be good to pull up your website. So why don't you tell everyone who's not familiar with you, who you are and what you do, and some of the things that you're doing in the world.
So I am a certified life and relationship coach. I started out on YouTube. Actually, I started out on Facebook. I was doing Facebook coffee with Court sessions, and I would just be streaming myself with friends and family. And I was giving them stuff that I was learning through my certification school, John Gottman information, any relationship type of topic, 5 love languages, all these different things. Right there, that video all the way to the right, that was like heart of COVID. I was in this 1.5 bedroom little office, little apartment, and I had my phone camera rigged up on top of a clothesbin. And I had a ring light, and it was so rigged up. But I'm like, you know what? This is giving me life. I don't have to obsess over my relationship right now. I can actually just be and give these people just pure value. I might have had like 30 subscribers at that point, but I didn't care. And after a while, it's like what Jim Rohn said, you'll start getting this momentum. And I was building up this momentum. I was talking to people. People was actually getting disappointed when I wasn't having my live sessions in my friend circles. They were like, what happened to Coffee with Court today? And I'm like, oh, I got caught up. I had to work. I was working like crazy. I was working like 14-hour days at that point, 5 a.m. to like 7 at night or something.
Okay.
Like, well, yeah, I couldn't do it today. So it was kind of spotty. But I took those videos, stripped them off of Facebook, put them on YouTube. And then I just kept going. And then I touched on different topics and saw what gained momentum. And during COVID, I blew up on TikTok. So they kind of brought over some views from there. But yeah.
Okay. So I've shown your website now. This is your YouTube page. I'm going to put this stuff in the chat so people can find it too if they'd like that. And, let's talk a little bit specifically about YouTube repurposing of videos, if we could do that. You basically, I liked what you had to say though about you started, kind of with, somewhat broadly with these open sessions, and have basically been working to find different ways to make things work. Right. And I mean, it's not like you have one single thing. You have multiple, is it fair to say you have multiple balls up in the air to see like what's going to work, what's going to stick?
Yeah, I saw what stick.
Was that by design? Did you do that by design, or was it just
If I
like this,
start
like
my YouTube channel all over again, I would not do it that way. No, that was just completely
okay.
spitballing. And one thing about YouTube is you have to be very specific on who your audience is, or you'll never gain traction. Like the analytics will never pick you up, or they'll keep pushing you to a bunch of different people, but they won't know who your core audience is. And audience retention is huge for them. So if they just like, I did another thing I did wrong was I ran like a paid advertisement back in early 2021 through Google Ads, and I just kind of blasted it out there to a certain amount of people, and the video did horrible. Like I got views, but my audience retention went from 65% view to like 10. So I'm like, well, that's probably not how to do it. So you want to let the analytics find your audience for you. So one thing I would do is get very specific on who my viewer is. You know, like your channel. It's like, okay, I want to give men advice about, or people advice about, you know, the process of court appearances, what child support is, and all these different like we did with yours, and just kind of really narrow it down to exactly who your ideal audience is. For me, it was attachment styles. People couldn't get enough of learning about this certain type of attachment that, you know, insecure attachment that you pick up from childhood and shifts and change over the course of your life and through relationship experiences. So once I you know hit that right on the head, bullseye, you know, my arch just shot up. I'm like, people want to know more about this. So
can you say why did you want to get into like video or social media, or like what was the driving factor for you that said I want to sit behind a camera to talk about these things, whether it's in a live session or, you know, repurposed or taped and replayed later? What was that hunger inside of you? What was there?
I have absolutely no clue. The only thing I can think of is trauma. And I wanted to not feel alone in my experience.
And it's also a platform though, right? Where you could connect with other people. Like you said, you were vulnerable at first, right? You wanted to share your vulnerabilities, and maybe there was someone else out there that you could connect with. And the platforms allowed you to do that.
What people don't know, I think I talked about this on my first session with you guys. YouTube is actually a dating app. It started as a dating app, and it transitioned into something totally different.
So funny. I didn't get any requests. So
it was broadcast yourself. So the original tagline was YouTube broadcast yourself, and it was like meant to show you playing with your dogs or doing all these other different to kind of like show what you're into. But then people started posting funny stuff, and it turned into a whole production after that. So I don't know.
So it was almost like a different like MySpace. It was supposed to be like showcasing yourself in a way. Yeah, I think you're right about that, right?
Well, it was like the old Tinder or Hinge. That was like the original plan for it. It was more like video format.
So okay, so when you step into YouTube, I mean, it seems it's a search app, number one, right?
It's attached to Google as their search engine. Yeah.
How far do you stack up your content, like, so you get ready to go? Like, you know, for teachers, you got to have like at least a week, right, when you start your week, but most of them have months ahead, especially if they've been doing it a while, and they just kind of jazz it up. Do you have like a set amount? Do you say, I'm going to make sure I got this insurance, I don't have to be all stressed when it's time to produce, right? But also then, does that change your creativity, and like as you're going along, you're like, as a teacher, you know, you got a lesson plan like this really bombed last year because I wrote on here, don't do this next year, right? So, you know what I mean? Do you go back and say, well, I'm going to fix this one that I really effed up, because there's some good stuff there, my delivery or whatever
you have people calling you on your videos too, because a lot of those videos are from 2020 and they say this is inaccurate, but I'm like, you know what, I agree, it's 2023. I've been through so many more experiences, and I have a different view now, you know, on certain ways to do things and the way to operate. But I kind of fly by the seat of my pants, and I know that's one of my top issues, is not doing what other YouTubers do. And they sit down and they bulk their content. Like they may sit down on a Saturday or Sunday and they'll script out, they'll record 5 or 6 different videos at a time. And you can tell because they're usually wearing the same outfit. Like definitely package this up and cut it up and shipped it out. So if you see a content creator that has on something different every time, he's probably doing it a la carte, unlike the people who bulk out their content. There's so much behind the scenes that goes on with YouTube. I mean, they have, some people have, well, a lot of guys have big teams on board. You know, they have a videographer, they have a script writer, they have an audio production person, and it's like a massive deal, you know, but they're also pulling in millions of views a week. So like one, for example, I think me and Kyle talk about the guy, Mr. Beast. He puts out one video maybe every week or a month, but he makes sure that that video is the best video as far as attention grabbing, pattern interrupts, the way he tells his story. So how often do we put it out? He puts his out once a month, but it costs millions of dollars to make the video to begin with.
Which wasn't the way he started though, right? The way he started was with his iPhone in his bedroom as a teenager, and he committed to it. And he said, I am going to be a YouTube, influencer, whatever you want to call it. Right. I mean, and he started from somewhere. Right. And I feel like that Mr. Beast model is like, he's on a whole different playing field right now where he has to, he is like ABC, CBS, like each production almost has to be better than the one prior to that, just because if he steps back, you might lose some viewers.
That's why a lot of YouTubers don't want to, me personally, I guess I could talk about myself. I don't want to introduce my audience to a standard that I can't upkeep.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like going into a rally and then being that one guy there to scream against them. Like, they'll support you. So just as recently as something I posted last week, I said something on there that I knew exactly what I meant. But the people who just were watching me for the first time, they had a whole lot of things to say. And then the people who've been with me for a while, they say, that's not what Court was saying. This is what he was saying. If you go back and look at this video, he explains it better there. So they actually come
nice.
They actually come to me. It's cool to see. It's like,
nice.
Courtney, have you ever thought about, I don't know if you did this already, but having a Patreon for kind of that core people, more private conversation, see the videos first, all that, and also continue to have whatever social, YouTube or TikTok, and having that be kind of, not a proving ground, but an audition to see if they want to be part of the community, the Patreon community. And the revenue model is a little bit different, and you're in.
I have a Patreon, but it was so hard to manage and keep up with because I'm running 8 different platforms. So
ouch.
I still get like passive income Patreon. I don't even know who subscribers right now, but
you didn't say that on air.
Yeah, I was thinking about shutting it down because I just can't manage. I can't keep up with it. It's so much. But I did give it a go. It just wasn't a platform for me. So
you got to get you some minions. Like Kyle's got minions all over, man. You see them all kind of shows, right? Get you some minions, bro.
All right, I got to go, fellas. It was good talking to y'all.
Great show, man. Thanks, Coach.
Good to see you, Courtney.
Yeah, it's great to see you, man.
You too, Timmy.
Bye.
Thanks, Grant.
Thanks, Kyle.